Let me start by saying that I come from a university that emphasizes research as part of the pedagogy. Any student who enters from the freshman year on is involved in research as an integral aspect of our teaching. I want to cover MOOCs. Does everyone know what I'm saying when I say a MOOC? Anybody doesn't know? Massive, open, online courses. All right. So past, present, and future. First of all, the MOOCs did not appear from the mind of Zeus, fully formed overnight. We've been doing the flipped classroom in some of our courses, particularly in the language division at Stanford, for about 15 or 20 years. That has meant, as in the case of Diane's remarks, that the administrative aspects of a course, including testing, has been done out of the classroom, out of the seminar room, out of the one-to-one discussions with the teacher. The matter of frequent testing is something that's been going on at Stanford, particularly for those teachers who have troubles presenting their notions, and their evaluations from their own students make it apparent that they're not getting their ideas across. So one of the tactics that some of them have used is precisely to test every 10 or 15 minutes in a course, often with these devices that allow them to test immediately with a clicker response to see whether their ideas are gotten across. We've done online courses for, the last 20 years too. Online courses meaning the whole course setup is available online, required reading, syllabi, testing, grades, the whole panoply. And some of those have involved videoed sessions. Often they involve lecture notes and so forth coming up. It's important to realize also that the open courseware initiative that MIT undertook in around 2000 has created tremendous benefits to MIT and collaterally to the rest of us. What they did was to make many of their courses accessible in content for free. They had to work around the copyrighted materials. They had to substitute non-copyrighted materials or ones for which they could get relatively inexpensive licenses for the material that was licensed to MIT. And they had to normalize content so it could be distributed in PDFs that were more easily digested than whatever it was they were using in the various course management systems at MIT. The results were they got better prepared students. They got students who are ready to come into higher level courses than they had formerly gotten, and they got more applications. So very positive experience. Some of us have been in the building of constructing business for course management systems for a very long time. That continues. The domination in some arenas of the for-profit course management systems, such as Blackboard, has yielded very dramatically around the world to the likes of Moodle and Sakai and a few others. And there will be more coming as the MOOCs themselves get organized, start to collaborate with one another better, and bring out platforms or modules that could be assembled in platforms using open APIs. So one famous MOOC is Coursera. Coursera, started by Andrew Ng and Daphne Koller, now claims to have 5 million students having gone through those courses. They claim to be involved with 100 universities, and they claim that they have 500 courses. I'm sure all of this is more or less true. Udacity not doing so many big numbers, edX still trying to get ginned up, but the truth is that these services are attracting very, very large numbers of students. Coursera just signed up to serve the US government in promulgating teaching around the world through various outlets, including USAID, but they simultaneously signed up to have a PRC site that serves China. Now this is sort of contradictory, right? You've got a more or less censor-free environment in the US, I say more or less. You have a very censored environment in China. And they somehow have gotten around these notions in their own business modeling to begin to engage. So we see the flipped classroom is absolutely dominant in these courses. They are predominantly engineering courses, though there are social sciences and humanities courses involved. They have great lecturers presenting, often filming taking place in the living room of the instructor. required readings, but vastly reduced required and recommended readings. I have to disclose that I'm a board member of something called SIPIX, which is a company that provides an easy way for an instructor and or a student to get a permission, paid often, to make use of a copyrighted item of one sort or another that might be in a recommended list, and I'll bring up some statistics of use as I go along. One of the interesting aspects of the MOOCs is that they're engaging volunteer discussion leaders and section leaders. They volunteer, and there is some kind of social mechanism where if a discussion leader is really just not very good, they don't get re-asked to be a discussion leader. They have lots of diagnostic testing, often these testing every 10 or 15-minute segments of a presentation, but there are no high-stakes testing involved. And it is not clear what happens at the end of the course when one has taken everything, yet whether there is certification that means anything. I'll come back to that in a minute too. Big question is how do the students, which number in the tens of thousands and sometimes it's hundreds of thousands, engage with the instructor? It's broadcast learning, but at some level it's unsatisfying because they don't engage with the instructors. They don't have the kind of one-to-one relationship. And then there's this problem of labs. If you're in a chemistry course, you can do a lot in a dry lab. You can do a lot in a virtual lab, no question about it. But as you get into advanced courses, what happens? It's a big question. Now they're worried about monetization, and you'll see many, many different behaviors starting to arise. So they're going to be selling the prospect of a student authenticating as having been involved in a course. And they're going to be selling certification. How did you take this? Take this exam, high-stakes testing exam, in a locked-in environment. You're going to have to pay for that privilege. We know from SIPIX, and we've been involved in a few of these MOOCs, and I emphasize these are early days for MOOCs. They've only been around for a couple of years, that only about 20% of the kids actually do the courses, actually take the course, do the readings, and then end up trying to turn their experience into something that might be useful in a career sense. And of the 20% that take them, only 10% finish. That is to say, they take the whole deal. So there's a huge early registration, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, but by the end of the day, it's a relatively small number. It's still a much bigger number than we would have in a course, right? It could be 4,000 students from 40,000 that started. We'll look at the future. These are predictions, forecasts, not guarantees, right? I think the MOOCs are going to change a lot. I think they're going to create a whole new set of stratifications. I think they're going to be supplementary in some cases. In other cases, they're going to be the educational scheme. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. One of the side effects at Stanford has been that we've created a vice provostship in online learning. And that man distributes every quarter, I would say $1 million in support for experiments in pedagogy. Wonderful. So we're seeing a whole new set of explorations of what might work and what might not work. And what's an experiment in our setting is a vastly different thing than what's in Diane's setting. Our people are not so well trained as pedagogues, frankly. They don't have the same experiences at all. They're not professional teachers. They happen to come to it as a result of becoming a professor. I think we're going to see MOOCs, as I said, as a supplement to traditional education. And the big issue, it seems to me, is that universities and colleges, sort of fundamental bricks and mortar institutions around the world, could become victims of MOOCs, but more likely they're going to become exploiters of MOOCs if they're smart. And that would be, I think, a good and decent thing to happen. What does it mean to get a degree from a set of MOOCs? Unclear. We don't have any examples of that, but clearly they're heading in that direction. What will it mean when you come to your first interview for a job to have done a MOOC? Another big aspect for MOOCs, it seems to me, and it's a growth potential, is becoming purveyors of continuing education for the bar, for medicine, for business, for computer sciences. Things change rapidly in these fields, and staying up to date on all of this is quite important. I also think that we're going to see MOOC courses selected by students, whether they're young, old, early in their careers, late in their careers, to bootstrap themselves. So for instance, if you don't know how to create a web app, you might take a MOOC course. Finally, and close, the one-to-one interaction between student and teacher, the face-to-face interaction, not intermediated by the web, I think will continue to be a determinant for leaders. Not for all, but for leaders. And eventually that one-to-one interaction, whether it happens in the undergraduate career, in the graduate career, or in life careers and continuing education, will be a big determinant.